A reading from the book of Beaker, 3rd Laboratories, verses 12 through 37. And an angel of correctness spoke unto man and exclaimed, Man, cease thy bigotry. From this day forth males shall be free to excrete their bodily waste and change their clothes in the presence of your mothers, wives, sisters, and daughters, so long as they identify as a woman. Go forth in love and acceptance. Oh, wait a minute, stammered an incredulous tribesman. O angelic one, in previous proclamations have you not repeatedly stated that all men by their nature are proto-nascent sexual predators or something to that effect? You speak truth, knuckle-dragger, answered the angel. Then don't you think that allowing men unrestricted access to females at their most vulnerable is problematic? Oh, hateful wretch, cried the angel. Why cannot you transcend your cis-normative bias? Why must you oppress those trapped within the vile shell of masculinity, wanting only to express themselves as a loving, accepting woman? But, asked the tribesman, have you not warned us that man is deceitful? And vile, and hateful, and ignorant, continued the angel. Then don't you think it's plausible that such creatures would merely pretend to identify as a woman in order to gain access to women in these situations so they might engage in their most base and twisted desires? Is it not logical to assume that many who state they feel they are as they are not only do so for predatory reasons? There was a great pause, and the angel spoke. Truly thou art bigoted and hateful. Thou sayest feel, as if such a thing were not valid. Does thy tiny Neanderthal brain not understand the concept of gender fluidity? I understand the concept, O winged one. I merely reject it out of hand. I am a man. Nature has placed my genitalia on the outside. No amount of emotional lubricant or mental masturbation will change that fact. If I meow, shave my facial hair in a bizarre manner, change the shape of my ears, and hack up hairballs, nor am I a cat. Blasphemer! Exploded the angel in a voice ripe with spittle and rage. Your hatred of the trans population will not go unpunished. I do not hate transsexuals, answered the man in a calm voice. My heart only knows compassion for them. With the suicide rate exceeding that of our soldiers who return from combat, how would I not want peace for them? And I sincerely pray that they find it. They neither pick my pocket nor break my leg. No, it is those who treat this as a game that I hate. Those who would sow strife and discontent for mere political advantage, that is who I despise. And with that, the angel of correctness flew into a rage. You must be made to understand. What I don't understand is this, O angel. We live in the greatest nation on the earth. In other lands too numerous to count, Disease and death run rampant because the populace is forced to use the very streets themselves as a bathroom. Honestly, I have no idea how this gender idiocy is even an issue. Don't we have actual problems to deal with? And with that, the angel of correctness had the man stoned to death. This has been a reading from the book of Beaker.
All right, guys, we're ready for our Four Seasons sunroom, and Daddy's gonna get a rec room with refreshments.
Oh no, we'll be sleeping under the stars.
Mom, what about the one with, the fun?
Nice try, little bro. It's a gym. My gym.
Hey, Grandma's getting her Four Seasons garden room. Weather tight and still like being outdoors.
Maybe a living room. Oh no, wait, a family hub.
Yeah! No matter what the budget, the season, or the climate, Four Seasons sunrooms let you and your family enjoy the outdoors inside. Call now to receive your free, no-obligation brochure from the premier manufacturer of sunrooms since 1975.
More reasons for Four Seasons now.
To find out more, call toll-free 800-928-7007. That's 800-928-7007. Call 800-928-7007 today.
Wake up, America. I think I got something to say to you. I love the United States of America, and I want you to love the United States of America too. Wake Up America Radio with Dr. A and Lou Bell is not a safe space, so enter at your own risk. You will be exposed to the truth, and we will endure the consequences. Now rest assured, Dr. A will not try to put his brain into your head. I will, however, motivate you to think and to use the analytical part of your brain that very few people want to use because it requires actual effort and actual work. Well, before we get into this honest commencement speech, by the way, Lou, Diane told me something that was quite...
You didn't say hello, Doc. Say hello to the listeners. You did not say hello to the...
well, I assume the three listeners who are in the romper room already know that we're on. But good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, what time you're listening to this. It's great to have you here. And we really appreciate you. And hopefully you guys will learn the truth and be able to share the truth with those that don't want to hear the truth. Maybe we can get to some people and save them. That's why we're doing this show, people. It's to save those that need to be saved, those unwitting accomplices to the destruction of the United States of America, because you know why? They know not what they do because they've been mind raped. You don't like it when I use that term, but I'm sorry. I have to use that term because it's appropriate.
No, you don't have
to. Now, by the way, Lou, Diane and Jody, I was talking to Diane. She told me something rather interesting. She said that she had asked you if Dr. A could do an interview on her radio show to discuss my latest book, Politics in America, Lecture Notes of a Lunatic Professor.
She asked me if I thought you would like to.
Well, here's my question to you. Are Jody and Diane under the impression that you control me?
Yes.
They are, and that's sweet. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes,
okay.
Because they know.
All right, well.
They know how it works.
I hope our three listeners in the Ready Room, Romper Room, Chat Room, whatever you want to call that room at K98, realize that's not the case. But today we are going to...
They all know better, Doc.
All right. Well, this is sort of like... there's like a 3-week time frame all over the country, maybe a little longer than that, where the kids are graduating from high school and college and that sort of stuff. And when I teach a university class, the very last lecture I give them before they go off and study for their final is called an Honest Commencement Speech. And I want to do that today for the listening audience. This is an honest commencement speech, something I believe our students who are graduating, especially the college students, need to hear. And are you ready for that, Lou?
I am.
All right, so imagine that we're
Can I say something before you get started, though?
Yeah, sure.
Have you noticed that for the past, I don't know, 5, 6 years, we've had in the news, there's always some scandal about someone being invited and uninvited.
Yeah.
Someone who the students are protesting their commencements.
Right.
We haven't had any of that in the news this year.
Yeah, they're trying to keep that out of the news. They're trying to distract us with other things so we don't really know what's going on. But yeah, Condi Rice got invited and disinvited. There's the list is long and has one undergirding dynamic. You know what that dynamic is that ties them all together? They're all conservatives.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. They no arrogance intended. Yes, I'm a semi-arrogant naval aviator, but the universities need a professor like Dr. A. They really do. Okay, so imagine we're at a big stadium, and this is the day that all these college students have been waiting for. They got their gowns on and their little funny-looking hats and all that good stuff. And I have been invited back to give the commencement speech. So without further ado, folks, here is an honest commencement speech, and here goes. I am honored by the invitation to address you on this august occasion. It's about time you invited me here to speak. But be warned, however, I am not here to impress you. You will have enough smoke blown your way today. And you can bet your tassels, I'm not here to impress the faculty or the university administrators. You may not like much of what I have to say here today, and that's fine. But you will remember it, especially after about 10 years out there in the real world. This, it goes without saying, does not apply to those of you who will seek your careers and your fortunes as government employees. This gowned gaggle behind me is your faculty. You've heard the old saying that those who can do, those who can't teach. To me, that sounds deliciously insensitive, doesn't it? But there is often raw truth contained within the bounds of insensitivity. Just as you can find feel-good falsehoods and bold-faced lies in compassion. Say goodbye to your faculty, because now you are getting ready to go out there into the real world and do. These folks behind me are going to stay right here and teach, continue teaching. By the way, just because you are leaving this place with a diploma, a sheepskin as my dad used to call it, doesn't mean your learning process is over or complete. The day the Navy flight instructor pinned a pair of the much coveted Navy wings of gold onto my sweaty flight suit after my graduation air combat maneuvering hop that was completed, he said this to me: "This is your license to go out there and learn more, Lieutenant Arrington." The same thing can be said of your diploma. It's your license to learn. And believe me, your learning has just begun. Now, I realize that most of you graduates consider yourselves to be liberals. In fact, you are very proud of your liberal views. You care so much. You feel so much. You want to help so much. After all, you are a caring and compassionate person, aren't you? Well, isn't that just so special, as Dana Carvey's church lady character would say on Saturday Night Live? Now, at this age, it is as good a time as any to be liberal, as good a time as any in your lifetime to know everything. And you have plenty of time, starting tomorrow, for the truth, the real truth, to set in. Over the next few years, as you begin to feel the cold breath of reality breathing down your neck, things are going to start changing very quickly, including your assessment of just how much you really know. So here are the first assignments for your initial class in reality. Pay close attention to the news, read newspapers, read articles, look up things on the internet, and listen to the words and phrases that so-called proud liberals use to promote their causes. Then compare those words of the left from those wordsmiths to the words and phrases you hear from those evil, heartless, greedy conservatives like my friend Lou Esposito. From the left, shut up, let me talk. From the left, you will hear, you interrupt me just like O'Reilly and Juju Domorowski and that Cornell chick. What's her name? It's Stacy.
When you call me heartless, I'm going to interrupt you.
And Lee Dreyer when I'm on that show. You got to let me talk. Okay, so let's go back here. Compare those words of the left to the words and phrases you hear from those evil, heartless, greedy conservatives like Slickery Trigger. From the left, you will hear, I feel. From the right, you will hear, I think. From the liberals, you will hear references to various groups: the blacks, the poor, the rich, the disadvantaged, the gays, the less fortunate, the LGBTQ. From the right, you will hear references to the individual. On the left, you will hear talk of group rights. On the right, you will hear about individual rights and individual privileges and individual responsibilities. That about sums it up. Liberals feel. Liberals care. They are pack animals whose identity is tied up within the confines of group dynamics. Conservatives think. And setting aside the theocracy crowd, their identity is centered on the individual. Liberals feel that their favored groups have enforceable rights to the property and to the services of productive individuals. Conservatives think that individuals have the right to protect their lives and their property from the plunder of the masses. In college, you developed a group mentality. But I want you to look very closely at your diplomas, and you will see that they have your name, your individual name, printed on them. Not the name of your school mascot or of your fraternity or sorority, but your individual name, people. Your group identity is going away, starting right now. Your recognition and appreciation of your own individuality begins today. If, by the time you reach age 30, you do not consider yourself to be a conservative, rush right back here as quickly as you can and apply for a faculty position. These people behind me will welcome you with open arms. They will welcome you, that is, so long as you haven't developed an individual identity. Once again, you will have to be willing to sign on to the group mentality you embraced during the past 4 years on this college campus. You know what, folks? Something is going to happen soon that will really open your eyes. You, my friends, are going to actually have to get a full-time job. You're also going to get a lifelong work partner. This partner isn't going to help you do your job. No, this partner is going to sit back, relax, and wait for payday. This partner doesn't want to share in your effort, share in your struggle. No, they just want to share in your earnings. Your new lifelong partner is actually an agent representing a strange and diverse group of people. An agent for every teenager with an illegitimate child. An agent for a research scientist who wanted to make some quick cash answering that age-old question of why do monkeys grind their teeth? An agent for some poor, aging hippie who considers herself to be a meaningful and a talented artist, but who just can't manage to sell any of her artwork out there on the open market. Your new partner is an agent for every person with limited, if any, job skills. For every person who ignored all offered educational opportunities, dreaming of nothing more than a job at City Hall. An agent for tin-horn dictators in fancy military uniforms, grasping for American foreign aid dollars. An agent for multi-million-dollar companies who want somebody else to pay for their overseas advertising or bail them out of a financial dilemma. An agent for everybody who wants to use the unimaginable power of this agent for their own personal enrichment and personal benefit. That agent is our wonderful, caring, compassionate, oppressive, imperial federal government. Believe me, folks, you will be awed by the unimaginable power this agent possesses. Power that you do not have. A power that no individual has, will have, or in fact should have. This agent has the legal power to use force. That's right, folks, deadly force to accomplish its goals. You have no choice in the matter. Your new friend is just going to walk right up to you, introduce itself rather gruffly, hand you a few forms to fill out, and then move right on in. Say hello, people, to your own personal 1-ton gorilla with a machine gun. It will sleep anywhere it wants to. Now, let me tell you, this agent is not cheap. As you become successful, it will seize about 40% or more of everything you have earned. And no, I'm sorry to say, there isn't any way you can fire this agent of plunder. And you can't decrease its share of your income. The ultimate power rests with him, it, the federal government, not you. So here I am saying negative things to you about the government. Well, let me be crystal clear on this subject. You can trust Dr. A on this one subject as well. It is not wrong to distrust government. It is not wrong to fear government. In certain cases, it is not even wrong, people, to despise government, because government, ladies and gentlemen, is inherently evil. Oh yes, I know it's a necessary evil, but it is dangerous nonetheless. Somewhat like a drug. Just as a drug, in the proper dosage, can save a life, an overdose of government can be most fatal. Now let's address a few things that have been crammed into your heads at this university. There are some ideas you need to expunge from your brain as quickly as possible. These ideas may work well in an academic environment, but let me tell you, they fail miserably once you're out there in the real world. First, there's that favorite buzzword of the media, the government, the left, and academia. My favorite buzzword is diversity. You have been taught by the people behind me that the real value of any group of people, be it a social group, an employee group, a union, a management group, or whatever. The real value of any group is based on diversity. This, again, is a favored liberal ideal because diversity is not based on an individual's abilities or character, but on a person's identity and a person's status as a member of a group. Yes, it's that liberal group identity thing, once again, rearing its ugly head. Within the great diversity movement, group identification, be it racial, gender-based, or some other minority status or victim status, group identification means more, much more, than an individual's integrity, character, or qualifications. But brace yourself. You are about to move from this academic atmosphere where diversity rules to a workplace and a culture where individual achievement and excellence actually count. No matter what your professors have taught you over the last 40 years, you are about to learn that diversity is absolutely no replacement for excellence, ability, and individual hard work. From this day on, every single time you hear the word diversity, you can rest assured that there is someone close by who is determined to rob you of every vestige of individuality that you possess and display. We also need to address this thing you seem to have with rights, so-called rights. We have witnessed an obscene explosion of these so-called rights in the last few decades, usually emanating from some college campuses. You know the mantra better than I do. You have the right to a job. You have the right to a place to live. You have the right to a living wage. You have the right to health care. You have the right to an education. You probably even have your own pet right, like the right to have a brand new Beamer in your driveway, for instance, or the right to season tickets to LA Dodgers baseball games, or the right to have someone else financially provide for that child you plan on downloading in a year or two or three. Forget it. Forget those rights. I'll tell you what your rights are. You have the right to live free. You have the right to whatever wealth you are able to produce from your own hard labor. You also have no right, listen to me people, no right to any portion of the life or labor or property of any other human being. You may think, for instance, that you have a right to health care. After all, Barack Obama told you so, didn't he? But you cannot receive health care unless some doctor or nurse surrenders their time, their life to you. Now, he or she may be willing to do this for just compensation, but that's their choice, not yours. You have no right to his or her time. You have no right to their intellectual property. You have no right to his or any other person's life or to any portion thereof, people. You may also think you have some right to a job with a living wage. That living wage might be $15 an hour or $70,000 to start, whatever a living wage means to you. Do you mean to tell me that you have a right to force your services onto another person, and then you have the right to demand that this person compensates you with money? Exactly where is this listed in our Constitution? I sure would like to be a fly on the wall when some less fortunate, homeless person came to you and demanded his job and your money. The people who have been telling you about all the rights you have are simply exercising one of their God-given rights, the right to be an imbecile. Their right to be an imbecile didn't cost anyone else either property or time. It's their right, and they exercise it brilliantly. By the way, did you catch my use of the phrase less fortunate? This phrase is a favorite of the lefties as well. Think about it and you'll understand why. To imply that one person is homeless, destitute, dirty, drunk, spaced out on drugs, unemployable, and generally miserable because he is less fortunate is to imply that a successful person, meaning one with a job, a home, and a future, is in that position because he or she was merely fortunate. The dictionary says that fortunate means having derived something of value from an unexpected place. Trust Dr. Ray on this one subject, people. There is nothing unexpected about deriving something of value from hard work and dedication. There's also nothing unexpected about deriving misery from choosing drugs, alcohol, and the street life instead of education and personal responsibility. If the left can create the common perception that success and failure are simply matters of fortune or luck, then it is easy, very easy, to promote and justify their various income redistribution schemes that they often concoct. After all, we are just evening out the odds a little bit, aren't we? This success equals luck idea that the liberals like to push is seen everywhere in today's contemporary America. Democratic presidential candidate Mrs. Hillary Clinton refers to high achievers as people who have won life's lottery. Mrs. Clinton wants you to believe they are making the big bucks because they are merely lucky. All they did was buy the right lottery ticket in life. What an insult to the man or woman who works 60 hours a week to provide for their family. It's not luck, my friends. It is choice. One of the greatest lessons I learned was in a book called The Greatest Secrets in Life. The lesson was very simple. Use wisely your power of choice. When you're out driving and you see that person holding a cardboard sign by a freeway entrance that reads, "Homeless, hungry," trust Dr. Ray. They are there by choice. He or she is there because of the sum total of the choices they have made in their lifetime. This truism is absolutely the hardest thing for some people to accept, especially those who consider themselves to be victims of something or other, victims of discrimination, victims of bad luck, victims of the system, victims of white male privilege, victims of capitalism, victims of whatever. After all, nobody really wants to accept the blame for his or her position in life. Not when it is so much easier to point and say, "Look, he did this to me," than it is to look in the mirror and say, "You SOB, you did this to me." The key to accepting responsibility for your life is to accept the fact that your choices, every one of them, people, are leading you inexorably to either success or failure, however you personally define those terms. Now, some of your choices are rather obvious. Whether or not to stay in school, whether or not to get pregnant, whether or not to hit the bottle, whether or not to keep this job while searching for a better paying career, whether or not to save money or saddle yourself with a huge monthly payment for that new fancy sports car. Some of your choices are insignificant. Whom to go to the movies with next Friday night? Whose car to ride home in? whether to play on Facebook or Twitter tonight, or watch TV, or read a great book like Politics in America, Lecture Notes of a Lunatic Professor, or read a book on investing. But you can be sure of this: each choice counts. Each choice is a building block, some large, some small. But each choice is a part of the structure of your life. If you make the right choices, or if you make more right choices than wrong ones, something absolutely terrible may happen to you. You, my friend, could become one of the hated, the evil, the feared, the successful, the filthy rich. Quite a few individuals have followed that tragic path. The rich, the wealthy, basically serve two purposes in a nation. First, they provide the investments, the investment capital, and the means for the formation of new businesses, businesses that hire people, businesses that might hire you, businesses that send millions of paychecks home each week to the unrich. Second, the rich are a wonderful object of ridicule, distrust, and hatred. Things are more valuable to a politician than the envy most Americans feel for the evil rich. And envy is a powerful emotion, folks. Even more powerful than the emotional minefield that surrounded Bill Clinton when he reviewed his latest batch of White House interns. Politicians use envy to get votes and secure their power and to expand their power. Machiavelli would be proud. And they keep that power by promising the envious that the envied will be punished, justly punished. The rich will pay their fair share of taxes if I have anything to do about it. The truth, folks, is that the top 10% of income earners in this country pay almost 55% of all income taxes collected. Bottom 30% pay no income tax, none whatsoever. I shudder to think what these job producers would be paying if our tax system were any more fair, like Bernie Sanders would like it to be. You no doubt have heard that in America, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Interestingly enough, our government's own statistical numbers and data show that many of the poor actually get richer as they go through life, and that quite a few of those rich individuals get poorer. But for the rich who do actually get richer, and for the poor who remain poor, there's an explanation, people, a simple reason. The rich, you see, keep on doing the things that make them rich, while the poor keep on doing the things that make them poor. Speaking of the poor, during your adult life, you're going to hear a string of politicians bemoaning the plight of the poor in America. So you need to know that under our government's definition of poor, you can have a $5 million net worth, an $800,000 home, and a new $180,000 Mercedes, all completely paid for. You can also have a housekeeper, a cook, a valet, and $1 million in your checking account, and still be affected by our government as living in poverty. Now that's something you hear in the news, do you? How do you pull this one off? Very simple, really. To determine whether or not some poor soul is living in poverty, the government measures one thing, just one: income. It doesn't matter one bit how much you have, how much you own, how many cars you drive, or how big they are, or how sporty they are. Whether or not your pool is heated, or whether you winter in Aspen and spend summers in the Bahamas. or how much dough you have in your savings account. It only matters how much income you claim in that particular year. That means if you take a 1-year leave of absence from your high-paying job and decide to live off the money in your bank accounts while you write the great American novel, the government says you are living in poverty, according to their statistics. That is exactly what you had in mind when you heard those grim numbers. Do you need more convincing? Try this. The government's own statistics show that people who are said to be living in poverty spend more than $1.50 for each dollar of income they claim. Now, something is a bit fishy here. I don't need a PhD to see that. Just remember, all of this the next time you hear Barack Obama puff up and tell you about some hideous new poverty statistics. And remember this. The average person in this country described as being poor and living in poverty has a higher standard of living than the average European. Not the average poor European, the average European. Why has our government, concocted this phony poverty scam? Because the government needs an excuse to grow and expand its social welfare programs and bureaucracy, which translates into the expansion of its own political power. If the government can convince you in all of your compassion that the number of poor is increasing, it will have all the excuse it needs to sway an electorate suffering from the advanced stages of obsessive compulsive compassion disorder. Well, it looks like I'm about to be given the hook here. The faculty behind me looks a little bit angry with Dr. A. I'll bet they've already changed their minds about that honorary degree they were going to give me. That's okay. I still have my PhD in sensitivity. I have learned over the years that sensitivity can be a trap. Think about it. The truth knows no sensitivity. And life can be totally insensitive. Life's not fair. Often so. Wallow too much in sensitivity, and you'll be unable to deal with life. Unable to handle the truth, as Jack Nicholson said in that great movie. So get over it. Now, before the chancellor has me shackled and hauled off the campus, I have a few random thoughts I'd like to share. Here's the first one. 1, you need to register to vote unless you are on welfare. If you are living off the efforts of others, please do us the favor of sitting down and shutting up until you are able to be financially secure on your own again. When you do vote, your votes for the House and the Senate are more important than your vote for the presidency. The House controls the purse strings, so concentrate your awareness there. Now, I should say the House controls the purse strings when they want to. Concentrate your efforts and awareness there. Number 2, liars cannot be trusted, even when the liar is the President of the United States or the Secretary of State. If someone can't deal honestly with you, send them packing very quickly. 3, do not bow to the temptation to use the government as an instrument of your plunder. If it is wrong to take money from someone else who has earned it, to take their money by force for your needs, then it is certainly just as wrong to demand that the government do this dirty work for you on your behalf. Don't look in other people's pockets because you have no business rummaging around inside them. What they earn is theirs. Nobody owes you anything except to respect your privacy and your constitutional rights. 4, speaking of earning, the 40-hour work week is for losers, people. 40 hours should be considered the minimum work week. You don't see highly successful people clocking out of the office every day at 5 p.m. The losers are the ones who get caught in the afternoon rush hour. The winners drive home in the dark. 5, free speech is meant to protect unpopular speech. Popular speech, by definition, needs no protection. 6, finally, proclaim your own rarity. Each of you is a rare and unique human being. Use your power of choice wisely. Go the extra mile. Drive home in the dark. Oh, and put off buying that big screen HD television as long as you can. Now, if you have any idea what's good for you, you'll go get out of this place and never, ever come back. Class is dismissed. I'm done, Lou.
Well, I thought you might take a break in the middle, but
no,
since you didn't,
I told you I wasn't going to take a break. I wanted to get through that, so
let's take one real quick, and we'll come back and finish up the show. We'll have about 10 minutes.
I'm
10,
all
minutes
pumped
to go.
up. I'm full of adrenaline. I want to go, and you cut me off at the quick.
It's
okay,
called
let's
producing. It's called producing. Rest your voice. It won't take long. A minute and a half. We'll be right back.
I looked all over, so how can it be? Here comes the wrecking ball, swinging at me.
K98 Talk is continuing to expand its lineup. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at advertise@k98talk.org.
They know I mean well and smiling is hell if they try. They open their mouths, only hatred spews out with their
Music for Wake Up America Radio is provided by Tennessee Jed, whose new CD, Stronger, is available on iTunes. And we are back. Dr. Arrington, I think you might have a few more things to say.
Lou, I want you to be honest with Dr. A. Don't candy coat it. Speak the truth, endure the consequences. Give it to me straight. No candy coating. Did you like the commencement speech?
If I had a professor going, I majored in the subject that you taught. If I'd had a professor in school who was that conservative and was brave enough to say it and put it to me that way on the last day of class, that would have been a wonderful thing.
Well, they get it, and nobody ever walked out about that. And they may have disagreed with it, but you know that. But we had a few minutes left.
Students are more fair than professors are. That's because students are more fair than professors are often in college. Yeah, the professors would walk out. You know what? We were talking about the future of the country and what's happening on the universities and what the left wants to do. If there's something out there that furthers the power and the control of the Democratic Party, the lefties, then they'll utter lies, they'll force through legislation, they'll slander their opponents, and destroy whatever gets in their way. Democrats, Lou, they hate the man or woman who is an independent, rational, critical thinker, and thus is unafraid to stand up for what they believe in, like you and JD and Stacy and all these people. Specifically, if their beliefs are rooted in capitalism, Christianity, conservatism. The lefties are cowards. They're hypocrites. And most of all, they are self-hating parasites who despise the traditional American way of life and our founding documents. We were talking about Ayn Rand last week, and there's another essay she wrote called Capitalism, the Unknown Ideal.
The majority of those, this is what she said, the majority of those who are loosely identified by the term liberals are afraid to let themselves discover what they really are in life is that they are advocating statism. They do not want to accept the full meaning of their goal. They want to keep all the advantages and effects of capitalism while destroying the cause, and they want to establish statism without its necessary effects. Posturing themselves, how do they do that? Humanitarians. The Democrats will often man the barricades to fight the callous injustice, persecution, repression, and exploitation that they claim to find in American society. Ayn Rand and myself say that's a bunch of horse hockey. But as to the full reality of these things actually happening on a daily basis, like they do in Iran, Cuba, Saudi Arabia, Russia, Mexico, Venezuela, China, they keep their mouths shut and remain silent because, again, I allude to the fact they're cowards. Cowards who do not want to know or to admit that they themselves are the champions of communist dictatorships, the champions of enslavement. Remember, the goal of cultural Marxism is moral decay. Moral decay leads to moral collapse. Moral collapse leads to economic decay, which leads to economic collapse. And then once you have that, that leads to societal decay and collapse. And that means you're ripe for a communist revolution, Lou. What do you think about that?
I think it's true.
It is. They're trying to, the cultural Marxists are trying to hurt our morals by creating all these victims in society and identifying who it is that is causing your plight.
But it is it is a twist on the old method.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
It's a new twist on the old method.
But if I can convince you that you're a victim, and I can convince you to throw away all your morals that you were taught, if you were taught any, I'm not sure that the millennials are taught much in the way of morality, then you'll be ripe as a society for that economic collapse. And if I can get rid of economics in the United States, quickly we have a societal collapse, and then we have the United States being that little grape on the vine that is ripe for the picking, and the cultural Marxists swoop in, and there's a communist revolution.
Right, and I told you that I produced a show on Saturday for a young man who's still in high school and very much, very young, but also a little bit brainwashed by public education, and he was debating another talk radio host who's a very conservative African American man. And it was probably the most, and I was just producing, and they were talking, so I didn't have to talk. I really got to listen and pay attention to their debate, and it was the most interesting thing to listen to this young white male who has been indoctrinated to believe that certain minorities are disadvantaged, argue with this African American man about why he's not disadvantaged. And it's Opinion Nation. It's on K98 Talk. You guys listen to it. It's Rod Eccles and Bryce. I can't remember Bryce's last name. It just escaped me. Okay. But Bryce and Rod Eccles. And it is the most fascinating thing. It was from this past Saturday. So it's the latest episode that he's got up. But Bryce genuinely believed that and believes that he knows more about oppression of minorities than an African American man would.
And we know that's not true.
Of course not. And Rod had a really interesting way of going about telling him he was wrong.
Hey, we've got a few moments left here before we're going to close the show for this week, but did you see today, there's a fellow by the name of Robert McDonald, who is a graduate of West Point, bless his heart. He's currently serving as Obama's Secretary of the Veterans Administration. I tweeted out that he is an insensitive moron because he equated veterans waiting online for an appointment at the VA to waiting online at Disneyland or Disney World.
The only analogy,
that ride.
The only accuracy the only accuracy in that analogy is I've left Disneyland feeling like I had PTSD. But other than that, that was like you said, the most insensitive, the most moronic thing I have ever heard anyone say in my life.
Well, here's why. We got a lot of veterans out there that are listening. In fact, next week we're going to do a special Memorial Day show. Veterans, bless their hearts, are not dying waiting online at Disneyland. Our veterans are dying while waiting online for an appointment at their local VA hospital.
And
That's
they're being
over-medicated. Mr. McDonald, you idiot.
And they're being over-medicated, and they're being they're becoming addicted to drugs because they're over-medicated, and they're committing suicide, and it's ridiculous.
I remember reaching out to my squadron mate, Admiral John Cotton, when I found out that like 21 of these veterans are committing suicide. I can't remember if it's weekly or daily, but that hurt me. And I reached out to him and said, what the heck can we do about this? Why is this happening? And can we stop it?
And does it matter if it's weekly or daily? I mean, if it's daily, that would be horrible. But weekly is horrible enough.
Yeah, three a day, something like that. But I want that stuff to stop. Also in the news this week, people, have you heard the name of Edward Nero? Do you know that name, Edward Nero?
Mm-hmm.
Edward Nero was the arresting officer of Freddie Gray there in Baltimore. He was acquitted of all charges today in the Freddie Gray case. Every single one. They have no evidence that they're guilty people. And so now they're replaying all those things that knucklehead mayor and the district attorney were saying about, and it was all political. You know that. It was all political. We hear you. We're going to charge them with all these various charges. Now I'm thinking they may just have to drop every one of these cases because there was nothing that they could pin on these guys. I'm thinking that guy, Freddie Gray, who was a known drug dealer, torn a rap sheet a mile long, probably harmed himself in hopes of being able to get some sort of a settlement from the city of Baltimore in the back of that paddy wagon, harmed himself. They have evidence that that's exactly what happened. Now they're saying this mayor may give the city of Baltimore the people there room to destroy. I just had a conversation with a friend of mine from church whose son I helped get into the Naval Academy, and they're supposed to be going up to Fleet Week this week in New York City with their YP boats. And right now what they're doing is because they anticipate maybe some Molotov cocktails. The Naval Academy is very close proximity to Baltimore, Maryland. They're getting those boats from the Naval Academy and all the things that are out in the open away from the Naval Academy. They're sending them to Pittsburgh or somewhere in Pennsylvania, so they can't be sitting ducks. Knuckleheads will go out and destroy. Does that just make you sick, Lou?
Yeah, it does make me sick because our sailors enjoy that week very much, and it's a special week. When was the last time that Fleet Week was suspended or altered in any way? Or, I mean, has it ever been other than during wartime?
Other than during wartime, no.
Right.
So we need to celebrate those guys. If we've got a minute here, one last thing here, people. Your president, Mr. Obama, is once again playing footsie with yet another communist country. He went and visited. I guess this is his whirlwind goodbye tour, like they had for these baseball players and basketball players. Kobe Bryant had a whirlwind, my swan song tour where everybody gave him all these accolades. He go to this city, that city. Well, your president is taking Air Force One all over the globe to give people a last chance to worship at his feet. So he's there playing footsie, like I said, with another communist country. Vietnam. He, in fact, lifted the weapons embargo on Vietnam. He is now going to weaponize communist Vietnam, Lou.
Yep.
Do we need any more proof that Dr. A is correct in labeling Mr. Obama as an Islamo-communist?
No, we do not. No, we do not. But I'm going to make a point right here that is going to make it's going to make the audience angry with me, or some of our audience angry with me. But I am going to argue your whole point about Trump with, and I'm going to use this to do it. So, Obama is not the only one who who vowed to and is going about undoing every Cold War treaty and every anti-communist treaty that we've ever had. Trump has vowed to take apart many of the treaties through his actions and the actions that he said he would take, like dismantling NATO, dismantling CETO. He promised the exact same thing. So, this is not to say that anyone is wrong for choosing Trump, but he tells people what they want to hear.
Right.
And people vote for what they want to hear. However, this is to make the point that the two political parties at this point in history are exactly the same. There is no difference. They've been the same two parties for 150 years. Plus, our two-party system was meant to create strength. All you have to do is look at Europe and their multi-party systems to know that those make for very weak countries. However, it was never intended to be these same two parties for 150 plus years. So there you go. There's my point.
And a very good point. It was. I mean,
thank you.
I love it when you take control of the show there. And damn, everybody loves Lou. I don't get it. I try, folks. You're out there listening to me. Please like me. I'm trying my hardest to get you guys to like me, but you all love Lou. I don't get it, but that's okay.
Yeah,
I love Lou too, so.
Well, I'm a hard kind of standard to meet. I set a high bar there.
You do, absolutely. I like that. And I've been trying to get Miss Stacy to interact with me, and she never, for some reason, she just never takes the bait. She just
she's got
Dr. A play,
just too many trolls hitting her miss. She probably never sees you. So it's time to get out of here, Doc. Say goodbye.
All right, goodbye, everybody, and we're going to do a special Memorial Day show next week. I hope you tune in for that, and have a great rest of your week.
Catch us on WNJC Super 1360 AM and out of Philadelphia. Tuesdays at 5 p.m. K98 Talk Thursday nights at 8 p.m. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement, and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method, and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.